Hello. Um, I'm Jess. This is my mom, Kathy, and I'll be interviewing about her job and how she uses effective communication skills in her workplace. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what do you do in your job?
Okay. I work for Verizon Wireless, the headquarters in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I am a project manager. Specifically, the projects that I work on revolve around IoT, and IoT stands for Internet of Things. And basically, what that is we're embedding chips and modules into everyday devices so that they can be accessed remotely and that we can track certain items. For example, if you want to start your washer or dryer remotely, you can do that. Or we even work with big cities for waste management where we can track how full a trash can is. So when they send their waste management team out, they don't have to waste times on trash cans that aren't full. So those are the types of projects that I help to manage.
Yeah, so she's a project manager at Verizon, which is a very common phone company. So that obviously creates a relationship between communication, because phones and communication. And when I was researching her position, it says that you report to the director and then your team members report to you. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so in class, we basically go over how or what types of communication and listening skills there are. There's active listening, there's things we go over such as nonverbal and verbal communication. So, another question I'm going to ask you is, do you use nonverbal communication with directors or your team members, whether it be good posture or like other things like that?
Yes, absolutely. One of the ways that we like to communicate is we have meetings on site and in conference rooms as much as possible, and even focus rooms if it's smaller meetings. It's always better to look at people and read their body language. You can see if their face when you say something, if they're lost, if they don't agree, the way they fold their arms in front of them, maybe they're not in an agreement with you. So definitely you get a lot of feedback, nonverbal feedback, even so much as when you're sitting in a conference room and somebody's got their head down and you know they're text messaging instead of listening to your conversation. So definitely a lot of nonverbal.
Okay. So, for this interview, we had to base all of our questions off a research question, and you don't have to answer this because this is just based around my research question. My research question is, how does the employment process in different positions relate to effective communication? So, also, like I said, there's a director, then like the project manager, then the team members. So, what types of communication skills do you think are important? Whether it be, we'll go one by one, the director, you, or your team members, what skills are important in each position?
Well, the one skill that's important across the board is being able to repeat back what you heard from somebody, whether it be an issue or a suggestion or somebody repeating what's going on with the project and summarizing the project. Sometimes what you hear is not necessarily what they meant. So it's always good at some point to say, let me make sure I understand what you're saying, or let me repeat it. That helps several ways. Number one, it makes sure that everybody's on the same page and we're all understanding the same thing. It also helps in the sense, especially if somebody's got an issue and a problem and they're complaining about something, and sometimes when you repeat it back to them, they realize that, well, now that I hear you say it, it's not really as much of an issue, or wow, you know what, now that you said that and you repeated it back to me and I heard it out loud, I think I know a way to solve it. So always repeating back what you hear and summarizing what you hear is really important across the board. And for each level, it's different. So my boss likes bullet points. He likes quick summaries with bullet points. And if you can use charts that are very simple, red, we're to stop with this, it's at a holding point, yellow, we've got some issues, green, we're on target. So they can very quickly take a look and see where a project is in the summary. But when I talk to my teams, that are below me, they all need different types of communication. The people that actually do the coding of the software and the development of the software, they use a system internal to Verizon where they create trouble tickets when they're writing code and they're having a problem or something's failing, and that trouble ticket is linked to the other teams. So they can see it, it's documented, and people can see how they tested, what they tested, the steps they did, and try and resolve it. In addition to that, they'll have follow-up phone calls at least once a week to go through the issues again, to repeat back to make sure they understand what's going on.
Okay, when you said the green light, to make sure everyone's understanding, we also talk about in class how the sender of information, the receiver has to understand and process. So is that a way of giving feedback and confirmation to your boss or team? Is that a way to confirm?
Yes, because you can see right away, just from a quick glance, if we have a PowerPoint slide up and we've got, there's 10 milestones that we have to hit in this project, and I have all 10 milestones listed, and you can immediately see from a quick glance, if you see more green on that project, this project is running pretty smooth. Mm-hmm. If you look at it at a quick glance and see a lot of red on there, immediately they know that there's an issue. So it's a very quick, down and dirty way to summarize what's going on.
Okay. Would you say you communicate more in small groups, or would you say you do a lot of public speaking, so to a larger audience with a specific goal or purpose? Or you said you do a lot of meetings with small groups, like 3 to 12 people. Mm-hmm. So what would you say you do most of for yourself?
Well, for myself, I have 2 types of meetings that I have to do. So the first one is everybody that reports back into me, their status. I have once a week what's called a stakeholder call. And that stakeholder call is, so from all the different teams, our user interface team, our software coding team, our testing team, our go-to-market team, our legal team, our finance team that does the budget. They have one representative from their team attend my call each week. So even though they might have 5 developers writing code, only one person comes to my meeting each week and speaks on behalf of their team and where they're at. So that stakeholders call is roughly about 12 people. It happens once a week. And it's very important that each week I send out an agenda about what we're going to talk about, and I send it out at least 2 days in advance of the meeting so people can review it. And if they have questions or concerns about the agenda, we won't have to worry about taking up time at the meeting, because I like to try and keep the meeting on track and in time, because people's time is so valuable. So that's for the people that have to report into me. When I have to report back to my manager, I usually have to give him a quick summary of where we stand, and then he will go to the greater audience and have to deliver the message. Once in a while, he will ask me to speak on his behalf to his boss, but again, that's usually very high level and not a lot of details.
Okay, and just one more question to sum everything up, just an opinion-based question. Do you think listening is just as important as communicating to someone else in your job field, your business field? Do you think listening is just as important as communicating?
Well, yes. So that goes back to you really need to in order to repeat back what you say, to understand that you got the right concept and you guys are on the same page, you have to listen. You have to pay attention. You have to understand what they're saying and what they're referencing. And if you don't, then there's an issue. Especially one of the hardest things in technology is they use a lot of acronyms. So like IoT stands for Internet of Things, and there's different acronyms for everything. And a lot of people will just start rattling off acronyms and nobody knows what they mean, or they mean something different to other people. So it's very important to listen and always provide feedback, and not be afraid to ask questions about, I'm sorry, do you mean this, or what does IoT stand for? And you should never be afraid to ask a question.
Okay. Thank you for taking this time, Mom.
You're welcome.
Love you.
Love you too.
Okay, and that concludes the interview. Thank you.